Example 6, solving a quadratic inequality. Okay, so the first step that we want to do is take 2x squared plus 5x minus 12 and set that equal to 0. And so what we want to do is we want to factor this. Now, we cannot factor anything out of this initially, so that means that we're probably going to have to try to use the AC method for this. So recall that the AC method tells us that we need to take the value of 2 and multiply that by negative 12 to give us negative 24. So recall that we're going to take the value of AC and the value of B to determine how we're going to factor this. So we have negative 24 and the middle number is 5. So what two numbers can we multiply to get negative 24 that when we add them together it's going to give us positive 5? Okay, so if we look at 3 and 8, okay, that's going to give us 5, but now we need to figure out which one is negative. Well, the one that's negative is going to have to be 3, because negative 3 times 8 gives us negative 24. Negative 3 plus 8 gives us 5. Okay, now with the AC method, we're going to write the first term, 2x squared, with the two middle terms, minus 3x plus 8x, and then the last term, which is minus 12, and we're going to set that equal to 0. And then we're going to group the first two terms together and the last two terms together. So now we're going to factor out the greatest common factor of the first two terms, which is x, and then what's left is 2x minus 3. And then we should get the exact same thing on this side, 2x minus 3. And then we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to multiply 2x to get 8x? What do we need to multiply minus 3 to get minus 12? Well, that answer is 4. Okay, and now we're going to write this out in factored form. So we have 2x minus 3 times x plus 4, and that's equal to 0. Now we're going to set both of them equal to 0 using the 0 factor property. So we have 2x minus 3, which is equal to 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. Over here, we're going to solve for x. So we get 2x, which is equal to 3. Divide both sides by 2, and therefore x is going to equal 3 over 2. And over here, x is going to equal negative 4. So now we've determined what our testing points are. So in step number 2, we're going to draw our number line. We know we have 0. One of the testing points is at negative 4, and then the other one is at 3 over 2. So we're going to extend this to then draw in our intervals. So we have interval or region 1, region 2, and then region 3. And now we're going to go ahead and then find what these intervals are. Now, if you take a look at the inequality in our problem, this says greater than or equal to. And since it says greater than or equal to, instead of using parentheses, now we're going to use brackets. So at negative 4, we're going to have a bracket, and it's going to go all the way towards negative infinity. So that interval is going to go from negative infinity to negative 4 with a bracket. For region 2, we're going to have a bracket at negative 4 and a bracket at 3 over 2. So that region is going to go from negative 4 to positive 3 over 2, and they both have brackets. And then the last region is going to go from 3 over 2 to positive infinity. So we have 3 over 2 to positive infinity. Now remember that infinity never uses a bracket because it's continuous. So therefore, we do not use a bracket for infinity. Okay. So now we're going to move on to step number 3. And so step number 3, we want to find out testing points, okay, to determine where it is true. So if we take a look at region number 1, okay, and to the left of negative 4, we're going to pick x equals negative 5, and then we're going to plug it into the original inequality in the question. So we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 12, and we want to see if it's going to be greater than or equal to 0. So we're going to plug that in. So 2 times negative 5 squared plus 5 times negative 5 minus 12. We want to see if that's greater than or equal to 0. So negative 5 squared is 25, and 25 times 2 is going to give us 50. So that's 50 minus 5 times negative 5 is 25, and then minus 12. So this becomes 25 minus 12, and 25 minus 12 is going to give us 13. And 13 is greater than or equal to 0. So therefore this says that it is true. So it is true for region 1. Okay, let's go ahead and move to region number 2. So in region number 2, we're going to pick the easiest number. In this case, it is 0. So x is going to equal 0. So again, using the inequality, 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. So we have 2 times 0 squared plus 5 times 0 minus 12. We know this gives us 0 and this gives us 0. And so is negative 12 greater than or equal to 0? Well, that is false. So it is false for region 2. Okay, if we take a look at region number 3, we're going to pick anything above 3 over 2, which is 1.5. So let's try 2. So we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 12. We want to see if it's greater than or equal to 0. So we have 2 times 2 squared plus 5 times 2 minus 12. So this is 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay, and therefore that's 8 plus 10 minus 12. Well, 8 plus 10 is 18, and 18 minus 12 is 6. And is 6 greater than or equal to 0? The answer is true. So we can now answer the problem. Where is it true? Well, it's true for this interval, and it's true for this interval. And so therefore, we would then write the following answer. We would say that it's negative infinity, comma, to negative 4 with a bracket. We use the union to include the other interval, which is bracket 3 over 2 to positive infinity. And there is our result.